this over here. All right. Okay, let's see if this is going to work today. Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're doing well. Let's see if somebody will type in the chat and let me know you're there. Let's see if it's going to work today or if I'm going to have to use it on my phone again. Oh, look at that. I think it's going to work. Pull this up anyway, just for fun. There we go. Okay, all right. Yay! Looks like everything is working. Hallelujah. Happy Wednesday, you guys. Nice to see everybody. Thank you for coming back. Isn't this how it goes sometimes when you're like, you got something you really want to do and this is important, and then the tech is just, it's a disaster. I'm glad you're back. Hey, Ron Heyman. Hi, Linda. I'm really super excited you guys are here. We're going to be talking a little bit more today about fundraising and how to do that to keep people close, keep them connected to your organization. I've got a lot of stuff that I want to share with you. As a matter of fact, I need to make myself a note about one thing that I do want to make sure that I share. All right. So I'm going to give everybody just a chance to kind of come on in. There's Beth. Hey, Beth. Glad you guys are here. Hi, Robert. All right, I have my fingers crossed and my toes that all the tech is going to work today. We're not going to have any issues. It's all going to be great. All right, good deal. Okay, let's jump in. I don't want to keep you very long. I know you guys all have a lot of stuff to do. So if you don't have the handouts, you may want to download those. I'm going to be working off pages 5 and 6 today. And we're going to talk about connection. So if you remember, you may be able to see this right here. We've been talking about this all week, that when you can talk to the right people, in other words, the people who care about your cause, not that they necessarily have money, and those of you who were here for day one, you may remember that people don't give based on their wealth. They give based on your value. So they give based on how much they believe in the work your organization is doing, not about how much money they have. So we don't want to ask, and we don't want to target people necessarily we think that are rich, okay? So I want to be really careful about that. Then we also talked yesterday about about messaging. Messaging is super important. If you don't say something delicious and grab people's attention right from the get-go, you're not going to be able to inspire and motivate them to give. And really, these are some really important pieces. So you get in front of the right people, those people who care about what you're doing. And I showed you in the handouts the ideal donor profile worksheet. And if you work through that, you're going to be able to try to start figuring out, where do you find ideal donor prospects in your community in large numbers? Or for those of you who work internationally, and I just saw somebody post in that they are joining in from South Africa today, which I think is awesome. I'm glad you're here. We have in our family of clients and those people that we support through our fundraising TV program and others, we've got people in probably about a dozen countries across the world, which I think is awesome. Okay, so right people, right message. Today we're going to talk about timing, connection, and relationship, because these are super important pieces if you want people to give. So what I want you to get right off the bat is that you can't just show up to somebody and say, give me money. My organization needs money, give me money. That might have worked in 1952. If you could say, look, this is a charity, please give. People were more likely to give then, but not so much now. People now are savvy and they understand more about fundraising, and they want to know what difference their money is going to make. And that's why we talked about messaging yesterday. It's super important. And if you're using your core number, there was a worksheet in the handouts for that as well. If you're using your core number, it puts the focus of the ask on those you're helping, and that's where it needs to be. Not necessarily on your need to keep the lights on, because it's not about that. It's not about you needing to make budget. It's about you trying to make a difference and change lives. That's what this is all about. So today we're going to talk about timing and about relationships and why this is so important. Now, I want you to think for a minute about a relationship that you have in your life. And it could be a friend, it could be a spouse or a sibling. Just I want you to think about somebody, and I want you to think about what you put into that relationship and what you get out of that relationship. Now, if you think about dating, for example, people only stay in relationships where they're getting something out of it. And the minute that it becomes boring or it becomes old or it's not any fun anymore, they're out, they leave. So it's the same thing with your donors. If you don't keep donors interested and engaged, they're gone. They're not going to give to you anymore. So we have to really pay attention to this. I want you to imagine, if you look on the handouts, this is page 5. You see this? There's a little green piggy right there with a meter on it. So I want you to imagine that with each donor that you have for your organization, there is an emotional bank account with that person. An emotional bank account. Every time you communicate with that donor and you tell a story that warms their heart, you make a deposit. Every time you ask for something, whether you're asking for money, volunteers, buy something from our Amazon wish list, sign up for our event, buy a ticket to this, do that. Anything you're asking for, you make a withdrawal. Now, you don't have to be an accountant to understand you have to have more deposits than withdrawals in order to keep that account open. Hopefully this is starting to make sense. If you want donors to stick around and give to your organization over and over, you got to be making deposits into that emotional bank account. Because I'll tell you right now, fundraising is an emotional act, and people are going to give when they feel good, when they feel inspired, when they feel like they're part of your team, when they feel like that they're giving to something that matters in the world. And that's why the part on messaging yesterday is so important. We've got to talk to people in terms of the impact that their donation is making, not about our programs and our credentials and we. Nobody cares about that. All right, so what I want you to think about then is how often are you making deposits into that emotional bank account? I'm going to challenge you to go back and look at the last 2 or 3 things that you have shared with donors. And I want you to look at your social media posts. I want you to look at newsletters. I want you to look at thank you letters, look at appeals, look at anything that you have shared lately with a donor in terms of communication. It could be something that you printed and mailed. It could be something that was emailed. And I want you to have a hard look at it. Did it have that emotional oomph in it to make that person feel really good? Was there a juicy enough message? Was there a good story? Was there something that made that donor say, gosh, I love that nonprofit. They are doing such good work. If you don't see that kind of stuff in there, then you need to make sure that the next communications that you send out are way better and way juicier. It does matter. Now, so there's one challenge for you. I want you to go back and look at some of your materials and see, are they really donor friendly enough? You see, donor-based fundraising is all about the relationship. And if you want people to stick around, you have to build the relationship. Now, here's another one I want you to think about. I love that everybody has friends. You all have relationships. You all have connections, so you can understand this when you start thinking about it just a little differently. You see, the thing with fundraising is we're building relationships on purpose, and it feels a little weird. Like some of us get a little uncomfortable. It just like, we're not used to doing. We're not used to building relationships on purpose, and that's what we have to do in fundraising. We're used to the way things kind of grow naturally and organically, right? You meet somebody and you make a decision pretty fast, really, about whether you like that person or not. And then you may decide if you do like that person, you want to spend some more time with them. And so that's when you say, hey, let's go to the movies. Let's go for a hike. Let's get together and play cards. Let's fill in the blank, whatever that looks like. And what you have to do is start to think about what are those next steps with donors. So when somebody comes to your website and they look around, they like what they see, and they sign up for your newsletter, what happens next? Do you send them an immediate email that says, gosh, we're so excited to welcome you to our family? Or is it silent and they don't hear anything until you show up with your handout? Now, I want you to think about this. Think about somebody that you know, and I'm sure everybody knows somebody like this, The only time you hear from them is when they want something. Yeah, we all know somebody like that. And thank goodness for caller ID, right? We see that number pop up and we're like, nope, I'm not answering that. I don't want to deal with that right now. It's not fun. It just feels crappy, right? When the only time somebody has any use for you at all is when they want something from you. It just feels terrible. You have to be very conscious of not showing up like that with your donors. If the only time that you reach out by email or snail mail is when you want something, they're going to stop giving really fast because that does not feel good at all. All right, so I want to give you a tool that's going to help. You can write this on the bottom of page 5 in the notes section. 3 to 1. You can just write down 3:1. 3 to 1. The 3 to 1 ratio is going to help keep you on task and on track so that you're not over asking and so that you are making enough deposits into that emotional bank account. Okay, you ready? You need to make 3 really good, warm, juicy communication connections before you ask. So you want 3 warm connections for every time you ask. Now, what that looks like in reality is, can you ask once a month for a donation? Well, yes, you could, as long as in between those asks, you have at least 3 really good, juicy, warm communications. What's a good, juicy, warm communication? Well, we talked about that some yesterday. It's not full of jargon. It's not full of self-centered language. It has stories about those whose lives you are changing. That's what donors want to know about. Otherwise, if all you do is share things that are boring to the donor, you're basically teaching them to stop reading what you share. If your newsletter is dull and it doesn't do anything for them emotionally, they're going to stop reading. And it doesn't take long. Like literally, you can teach somebody to stop reading your emails in about 2 or 3 emails, or they'll start unsubscribing. And then you know it's just not working. What you're trying to do is not working. All right, is this making sense? If you're here and this is making sense, would you just type in and tell me, yes, this is making sense to you? Okay. All right. Hopefully this is making some good sense to you. This to me was always the hardest part when I was getting started as a fundraiser, was trying to understand how relationships work and what that looks like in practical terms. In very practical terms, it can be super easy to build relationships with donors. It can be about you being consistent in talking to people. All right, great. This is making good sense to you guys. I'm so glad. Now, how many of you have friends that you talk to? You're either texting them, calling them, or doing Messenger like just about every day. Yeah, me too. Actually, I just saw one of my friends. She's here with us. We chat via Messenger quite a lot, sometimes every day. And that is how you keep a relationship alive, right? Now, you may or may not want to talk to your donors every day. That may not be practical. It may not make sense. So you have to think about what does make sense. Does it make sense for you to post something on social media once a day so that people can see what's going on? Yes, it does. Does it make sense for you to do a really nice email newsletter once a month? Yes, it does. Does it make sense for you to do some other things so you can stay connected with your donors regularly so that when you do ask for money, they say, oh, this is great. Where's my checkbook? Where's my credit card? I want to make a donation here. I'll tell you, as a donor, there are a lot of organizations that I have built a relationship with to the point that I trust them. And sometimes I don't even really read everything they're sharing. A couple of them do a lot of Facebook fundraisers, and sometimes there's one organization I can think of, like, I don't even read the whole thing. If they're asking for money, I'm like, whatever, hit the hit the donate button and I'll give. I just don't even really pay a whole lot of attention anymore because I completely trust the founder of that organization. I love the work that she's doing. I love the impact that her organization is having. That's where you want to get to with your donors. You have built that much trust that they don't even want to read the whole thing. They just say, oh, you need help? Great. How much do you need? Here's my credit card. Let me help you. That's where you want to get to with folks. And you can do that. Follow that 3 to 1 ratio. Make sure your communications are juicy and it will work. Now, I want to talk about something that's just a little bit different, and that is about where your organization is in its growth, because this can also have an impact on the kinds of things that you're sharing. So on page 6, if you will flip over, you're going to see something that we call our fundraising success path. Having worked with lots, probably dozens, if not hundreds, maybe even thousands of new, young, and small nonprofits over the years. I really should give myself credit because I think it is more like thousands, probably tens of thousands at this point. I've been doing this a long time. We notice that there's some distinct stages to growth that an organization is going to go through. And so I'm going to challenge you to have a look at this and figure out what stage your organization is in. Stage 1 is usually for people who are thinking about starting a nonprofit. And what you'll see under stage 1, which is called Getting Started, there's a series of checkboxes here. And those are what we call the milestones that you need to be able to get in place so that you can check that block and get all the way through that stage before you move to the next stage. Now, there's a couple of reasons that I want to bring this up because it does impact your fundraising. Stage 2 is where we see people make it or break it. In stage 2, you are developing a very strong base that you're going to build off on. And if you build this base right and you build it strong, then moving into stage 3 sets you up for success because you have the strong base, your organization is stable, you have the systems in place, you have the tools in place, you have the help in place in order to very efficiently do the work that you need to do. If you get into stage 2 and you kind of slap some of this stuff together and you don't really do a good job with it and you try to move too fast into the fundraising, you're going to have problems. And we have actually worked with organizations like this who try to move too fast into fundraising, but they don't have their accounting system all buttoned up. And so we just looked at an organization's records recently that they're not staying in touch with people. This whole notion of connection and staying engaged, they haven't been doing. So we're finding that they have donors who gave last December who have never heard another thing from this organization. And to me, that's a big face palm. That's a big, you're missing such an opportunity. Listen, you have to work kind of hard to get new donors in, right? It's not as easy as just, I'm going to go walk down the sidewalk and I'm going to meet all the new donors I want. It doesn't work that way. So when you get new donors, you've got to keep them. And if you don't have your software and systems and all this stuff from stage 2 set up well, you're setting yourself up like a house of cards and it will fall at some point. So I want you to have a look at this. Now, can you start building your donor base while you're still in stage 2? Yes. What we like to recommend is get into stage 2, move through it as quickly as you can. Like if you can get all this stuff in place and knocked out in like 3 to 6 months, great. And then you're ready to really jump into fundraising. But all the way through, treating people with respect, surrounding yourself with supporters, messaging like crazy in a good way, building that strong connection, it's going to support you all the way through. All right, then, so stage 3 is growing strong. That's where most of the fundraising happens. Stage 4 that's nirvana for most organizations. That's where you have a fully funded budget. Your organization is firing on all cylinders. That's when you can really start to have some fun. We have a client right now who is in stage 4, and oh my goodness, it is so much fun because we're refining and we're looking at donor segments and we have a lot of time to say, let's tweak this, let's try that. It's not that sort of ramp up mode that you're in stage 2 or the stage 3 where you're like, let's put this in place and that place, and you're trying to get a lot of traction. People love this. So I wanted to be sure that we shared this with you. Linda has a question about 100% board giving under stage 2. What that means is that 100% of your board members should be making a financial contribution. So if you start your organization in stage 1 and then stage 2, you're putting everything in place, some of your first donations should come from your board. I can just feel some of you just rolled your eyes at that, and I get it. Like working with your board, that's a whole other thing we could talk about. But you should have 100% of your board members making a financial contribution, and they should continue to do that as your organization grows. If that's an issue, we can help you with that. There's definitely some things that we can recommend that will help. One is to set very clear expectations up front. Another is to run a board campaign every January. We actually have a couple of episodes inside Fundraising TV where we talk about that. More on that in just a second. I want to answer Linda's other question. Recommend donor management software, you bet. There's a lot of programs out there that are awesome. We recommend you have a look at either Kindful, Bloomerang, or Little Green Light. They're all really easy to use. Bloomerang has a free version if you're just getting started. I think there's like up to X number of records in the system. It's free. They have a very affordable introductory price as well. So you can go have a look at Kindful, Bloomerang, and Little Green Light. Karen says she requires a minimum for their board and their young professional council. Karen, I think that's a great idea. And I remember being part of a board one time where we instituted a minimum donation amount, and it was scary. It was very scary, but we did it and it worked. And then as new people came in, we just said, like, look, this is just how this works. And the new people said, okay. They didn't know any better. So you all can do that. I think when you're just getting started, if you're in stage 1 or stage 2, I don't think I would set a minimum give. But when you get over into stage 3, you can say the minimum you need to help, you either need to give or go raise is fill in the blank, however much money you want that to be. Okay, I'm going to be really mindful of your time. Melissa asking about fundraising plan templates for new organizations. We actually have a lot of stuff about fundraising planning over on our blog, and you may want to go check that out at getfullyfunded.com/blog. We also have some stuff inside our fundraising TV program. And if you guys don't mind, I want to tell you about that right quick because it is an amazing, amazing resource. All these questions that you guys have been asking and the questions from yesterday and day before, the answers are all inside Fundraising TV. So it's a program that offers you the tools you need that are very practical and very usable for you to put them in place quickly and go raise more money for your organization. It's delivered through on-demand video that's really short. The videos are about 10 minutes, although some of them are more like 12 to 14, but we try to keep it really short because we know that you don't want to sit through an hour-long webinar. I don't want to sit through an hour-long webinar. You don't want to do that. So we keep it super short. If you don't want to watch the video, we give you a script. You can read through the script. It covers everything from how do you find good board members to how to run a board giving campaign to how to get monthly donors to how do you put a fundraising plan together. There are pretty close to about 50 videos in there right now. We release a new one every week, and I think you'll enjoy it. We have a lot of people with some amazing stories to share. One of our viewers, her name is Kimberly. She just emailed me yesterday and said that they have raised about $30,000 in the last 2 months, which is a lot for her organization. It's a fairly new organization. They've raised a lot, and she's been able to hire some new people, which is awesome. We're hearing similar things from other people that have had just record-breaking seasons and years, and even during the middle of the pandemic and the lockdown, people have been able to really have some great success. So it's short video. The lessons are on demand. We keep it moving fast. We drop in what we call swipe files about once a month. So we give you samples that I personally have vetted, samples of everything from appeals to donor acknowledgement plans to newsletters, like you name it, we are dropping in samples so that you can see what good materials look like and what good donor communication and engagement looks like. It's a great little program. Go check it out. It's getfullyfunded.com/TV. It's $39 a month. If you think about that, you get a video a week. That's basically $10 for a video that might teach you how to get more monthly donors or how to find grants that are a perfect fit or how to run your board giving campaign. Like if you just do the work, you will raise so much money out of this program. It's not even funny. The people who do the work are the ones who come back and have the amazing success stories. Now we do have a bonus right now because I know in the environment that we're in, everybody keeps asking us about virtual events. What ideas do we have for virtual events? We have an ebook that we've created that we're calling, let me see if I can get the name right, the Virtual Event Idea Book for Small Nonprofits. And in it are a couple of dozen examples of different kinds of virtual events. And that is a bonus that we'll give you if you want to sign up for Fundraising TV. So getfullyfunded.com/TV. come check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it. The bonus is available through next Tuesday. So you can get that virtual event idea book until July 1st. We would love for you to come join us. There's a lot of our members here in this group, and I'm going to ask them real soon if they will share some of their own stories, because I think you'll be really inspired, and you'll see that this is pretty cool to be able to learn how to do fundraising in these short little snippets, learn it fast, go try it out, get some results, come back, get some support. It's a great little program, so come join us. All right, I'm going to just stick around for just a second and see if there's any more questions that I can answer for you guys. If you have questions about Fundraising TV or about anything that we talked about today or in the Fundraising Breakthrough mini course. Okay, just a second. Let me have a little sip. Lisa says that she didn't have a minimum, but did require that board members make a donation annually. That's a good idea. One thing that I will caution you about is sometimes board members try to take the easy out and they say, oh, well, my company made a donation. I don't let them get by with that. I say, that's great and thank you. And I really want you to make a personal donation as well. If you're doing a give or get, which I think Karen jumped in and said, use that language, it does work. And you're right, the give or get does work. If your give or get is, let's say it's $2,500, then if the board member's company gives, that counts toward their give or get. I still like to see board members make a personal financial contribution because I think it's tough to justify them as a leader of your organization if they don't have skin in the game. If they aren't giving finances of their own to the organization, then really what kind of a leader is that? Your board members are the leaders of your organization, so they need to behave accordingly. Okay, Brent says, what are mandatory fundraising materials for phase 2 organizations? Brochures, case of support, other materials. Okay, so first of all, I do not recommend a brochure unless you have a very specific reason for it. A website is better, and you'll even see that on stage 2. We think you need a basic website. If you need help putting that together, our go-to people on that is a group called New Frame Creative, newframecreative.com. They work with most of our clients on websites. So I would say probably 70 or 80% of their clients are nonprofits. They're amazing. They're fast. They're very affordable. Your website is way more important than a brochure or any kind of material. So in stage 2, you need a good website and you need to get your social media accounts set up. And you'll see that those are on here. Those are part of the checklist. Because people are going to check you out online first. A lot of people who have never given to your organization are going to go look at your website to try to get a sense of if you're a reputable organization or not. So your website does not have to be fancy. We actually just guided a client through a brand new website, and it's not fancy. I think there's about 7 pages on it, but it looks very nice. It represents them very well. They got a new brand, new logo. We were able to rebrand their social media. And everything looks beautiful. So now if somebody comes and finds them for the first time, they're going to say, wow, this organization has it going on. They know what they're doing. And that's what we're looking for. So no brochures, don't need a case statement yet. You need a good website and social media. When you move into stage 3, then you probably need a case for support. For those of you who don't know, a case for support basically is a document that lists out reasons why somebody should give to your organization. You may not ever share that case for support with anybody, but the exercise of going through it and answering all those questions will give you material that you can use in a lot of different places. You'll find that copy and paste works really well once you get the language nailed. Okay, let me see. Okay, Sherry's asking a good question. How much is a recommended donation ask for board members for a stage 2? I think it's going to depend on the board members. If you have a diverse board, which is a really good idea, number one, you don't want people who are all your friends and family on your board because they're all going to tell you yes. They're going to go, oh, you got this. You don't need me, whatever. And they may stop showing up. So that's a problem. I would recommend that you have people who represent a lot of different constituents of your organization. So you may have somebody who in some way represents those you serve. You may have people from different points of view who are bringing a variety of skills and connections and experience to the table. And if you do that well, then you're going to have somebody who's capable of giving $1,000. You may have somebody who's capable of giving $100. You may have somebody that the best they can do is $10. You may have somebody who could give you 10,000. So I don't necessarily tell them how much, although just start and see what people can give to. I like to tell board members that I hope that their gift to this organization is one of their top charitable gifts. And then let them sit with that. Like, I don't necessarily want to tell them, here's how much you have to give, but I hope this is one of your top charitable gifts, and let them think on that and chew on that. The other thing that you can do, Sherry, is if you're in stage 2, you probably need to raise money for hiring an accountant or paying for your QuickBooks or getting a new logo done or getting your website done. There's probably things like that. So what you may want to do is say, we need $5,000 to get all this initial stuff taken care of. Let's run a board campaign. Let's start with that. So we're going to get the board to give as much as they can toward that amount. And then you ask the board, okay, who do you know that you can reach out to and ask for a donation while we're getting the money just to get started? So that's a good way to go about it. I know that's not the answer you want. You're probably wanting me to say $100. Tell them all they have to give $100. You can do that, but you're going to have some people who can't do that. And you're going to have some people that's a drop in the bucket. And I don't want you to leave money on the table. Hey, while we're talking about boards, here's another trick for you that works really well. Don't ask in an email or at a meeting and say, I need everybody to give, and expect that to work, because it won't. You will have to follow up with individual phone calls to board members to get them to give and get them to do what you want them to do. That's just how it works. Individual asks are always going to be better when it comes to your board members. Okay, any other questions? I'll just put out last call for questions, and I'm thrilled we have had no tech issues today. Yeehaw. All right, if you're thinking about last questions, I also want to remind you, come join us in Fundraising TV. I think you'll really enjoy it. You get a lot out of it. You can try it for a month if you want to, and if you decide that it's not for you, you can cancel. No big deal. The minute that you join, you're going to get access to the entire library of videos and swipe files and bonus materials. So if you want to log in and go watch only a couple of things, or if you want to binge watch the whole thing, you can do that. You can do it however you want to. It's all on demand, so you can watch whenever works for you, whether that's 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. or somewhere in between. You can make it work for you. I think you'll enjoy it. It's the program that I wish I had access to when I was getting started in fundraising. It would have made my life easier. It would have shortcutted my learning curve, because it would have been so nice to have somebody to say, here's how to do this. So all of you who are thinking about, like, how do we get our board members to give? We have an episode all about that, where we talk about how to get 100% board giving, how to get your board to give. And inside the handouts, we've got some sample pledge cards. We tell you how to run a board campaign in January. So if you're really struggling with your board, you might want to sign up and go straight to the board category and jump into those episodes on how to engage your board and how to get 100% board giving. There's 2 episodes, and they're really, really good. And we're going to be adding more real soon. We've got one coming up in the next couple of months on the 10 roles and responsibilities of your board. And you may want to share some of that information with them so they understand what their job is. All right, getfullyfunded.com/TV. Come join us. All right, that's all our time for today. Thank you again for being here. Come back tomorrow, because we have one more piece that I'm going to share, and that is how you take all your ideas and all the things we talked about and put it together in a 1-page fundraising plan. So be sure and come back tomorrow at 2. I've got some more great tips that I'm going to share with you, and you don't want to miss it. All right, thanks everybody. I'll see you again next time. Bye.